Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Daniela Schwartzman, BayWa RE. I'm the Marketing Relationship Manager, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to our webinar with our special partner, Fronius. Our webinar is titled Redefining Simplicity, Explore Gen24 with Fronius. While you're all jumping on a little bit of Q&A, familiarize yourself with Zoom. On the bottom of the page, you find a Q&A button. That is your most important button because that's how you can communicate with us. You can ask any questions, type in your comments, and we'll monitor and ask our expert Matt all the questions that you may have. So please use the Q&A and not the webinar chat. Matt is our technical sales advisor here at Fronius USA Solar Energy. And before I hand it over to him, let me just share some information, what's been going on with BayWa. If you could skip this slide. Yeah, perfect. So BayWa RE, most of you are familiar with us. For those of you who are not, your success is our priority. What that means is that you can plan effectively with us with accurate forecasting so you can ensure you service your homeowners efficiently. Your dedicated account manager is always available, answering any questions you may have and provide you any guidance. We are also proud to offer an easy-to-use web store. It's very user-friendly for up-to-date pricing and immediate ordering to make sure that your order process is as simple as possible. For commercial projects, our commercial services desk offers expert planning and precise product inventory forecasting. So our expert service desk is at your disposal for direct assistance with any kind of commercial design planning or questions you may have. You can also benefit from consistent pricing across all the US warehouses, eliminating any unexpected fees. And with our strategically located warehouses, you can easily access the products you need wherever you are in the country. Experience and benefit from our direct job site delivery, bringing the product straight to your job or construction site without having the need for a middle warehouse. And if you're a US-based solar installer who is not yet working with us, explore the links in the chat. They're going to be posted momentarily so you can learn more how we can support you, making sure that you have a successful business, and then a representative from BayWa will reach out to you and discuss your needs. All right. After that is clear, I'm really happy. And without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Matt. Now let's hear from you. Take it away, Matt.
Well, thank you very much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So we're going to be talking about the Gen24 and our digital tools. I want to introduce myself. My name is Matt Nash. I've been with Fronius now for 10 years. I have been all over the business unit in solar energy between manufacturing, repair, tech support, and now as a technical sales advisor. So I'm well equipped to answer any of your questions that you have with Fronius or even system design. Let's go ahead and get into it. So what we like to start off everything with is our mantra, if you will. It's the 24 hours of sun. We believe in a future where we cover our energy needs 100% with renewable energy sources, a world of 24 hours of sun. So I'd also like to start with a question. How long have you guys been installing Fronius? We'll give you a minute to answer. Really like to see.
Yeah, let's take some time, and please, if you could indicate whether you're new to Fronius or you've been working with Fronius 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, or more than 10 years. So everybody, if you could just take a minute or 30 seconds to put yourself on this poll question. Can we get a couple more answers? All right, it looks like it's not moving any further. So, Matt, as you see the results, what do you think about that?
It's encouraging to see a lot of new faces to Fronius, but also to see some of our installers that have been with us for a while. So actually, it's pretty encouraging to me.
Yeah, and it's exciting because you're going to talk about some of the new things that are happening at Fronius today. So that's super exciting. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this little call.
Awesome. Okay. So what do customers want? Customers want simplified and fast installation processes. They want flexibility and future security. They want a lean system design with maximum yield. So we now present the Gen24. It is designed to empower. So this is what we have as our newest residential inverter. This can be upgraded from a standard Gen24 via an over-the-air software update through our SolarWeb monitoring portal. It's the only one that is in the market that can do so. Our power classes range from 3.8 to 10 kilowatts with plenty of power classes in between. It is a single phase inverter, so 208, 240, has 2 maximum PowerPoint trackers with 2 connections per PowerPoint tracker. It has a current rating for the battery at 22 amps, and the battery voltage range is in between 150 and 455 volts. So we'll go ahead and talk about the small hardware class. These are the 3.8, 5, and 6 kilowatt inverters. They can handle up to 22 amps of usable input current on the first tracker and 12 amps on the second. There are 2 inputs, but with the high power modules that are, in the market now, 1 string is probably going to be all you're going to realize. And of course, we talked about the battery input at 22 amps, and that's only active in the Plus model. We also have a large hardware class, which is physically just a little bit bigger, but it offers 7.7 and 10 kilowatt output. And they have 22 amps of usable current on both trackers. As I stated before, the Gen24 is an upgradable hybrid inverter. So as everybody's aware, battery storage is pretty expensive. And it does require a lot of additional installation time and CapEx. So the Up.storage program, it allows you to have an upgrade path for your customers. So it can be installed as a grid tie only. And then when the system owner is ready to upgrade, they can do so through our web shop. And at that point, if it is on our SolarWeb monitoring portal, as soon as it's paid for, it'll actually download the file so you can go ahead and activate the battery backup functionality. So it essentially turns a Gen24 into a Plus model. One of the key features of the Gen24 is shading management software. It's called Dynamic Peak Manager. So what this is a software algorithm that what it does is it scans the entire IV curve of the strings and then looks for the maximum power output instead of just plotting the highest voltage and then current from there. So it finds the best voltage for maximum yield it is string level optimization. So it mitigates the need for module level power optimizers, which decreases installation time and reliability of the PV system. Another key feature is the active cooling technology. So with the Gen24, you have a central fan that intakes from the front and then disperses heat throughout the sides of the inverter. What this does is it gives a long inverter lifespan due to actively cooled components. It does power derate at a much higher temperature than passively cooled systems. It also gives you better yield for a faster return on investment. And as you can see below, the operating range of these is -40 to 140 degrees of Fahrenheit. So what is the advantage? If you look at this graph, this is our testing with a passively cooled inverter against our Gen24. The passively cooled inverter will start derating right around 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And during the summer where the sun is out the most, a lot of places see that temperature first thing in the morning. So it will do nothing but derate from there. Where the Gen24 will produce at maximum output at up until 120 degrees Fahrenheit of ambient temperature. And then from there, it will start derating to make sure that it doesn't do any damage to the circuitry. So what this offers is, again, higher life cycle of the inverter. It gives you greater yields at lower and higher temperatures, and it offers you some flexibility in installing the inverter outdoors. In case you do need to do some field service on the inverter, these are the parts that can be field replaceable. So you can replace the entire inverter if necessary. However, this is very unlikely due to the fact that the inverter itself is essentially two parts. It is the power unit with the outside fan, or the pilot board, which is kind of the brain and communication board of the inverter. If necessary, you can replace covers and the connection area cover. But again, you really only have to worry about one or the other. It's very rare that you would need to replace the entire inverter. And speaking of that pilot board, what it is, it's a data logger, web server, Wi-Fi and LAN communication device, as well as the brain of the inverter. So it offers multiple open communication interfaces. So it is SunSpec Modbus certified. You can do API calls to the inverter in case you do have your own app that you utilize for monitoring. It does offer 2 inputs for RS-485 Modbus RTU. This is an upgrade from our previous generation. It does have a wired shutdown port for rapid shutdown, and it does offer digital I/O. These are for load management. So it provides communication connection to our SolarWeb monitoring portal. It offers third-party Modbus device support, as well as the third-party web servers with the API. So the Gen24 does come with basic backup right out of the box. This is our PV point. So with sufficient radiance on the array, you will be able to have up to 13 amps at 120 volts AC with a 2.1 kilowatt surge capacity for those higher inductive loads. So it's opportunity power. So if a customer doesn't have the money to get batteries right out of the gate, they can go ahead and opt to have a GFCI outlet installed to the PV point terminal, and it'll offer this. It's kind of a stopgap between battery and just a standard grid tie. The requirement for that is, again, a GFCI receptacle and the wired shutdown initiator if rapid shutdown is necessary. And speaking of rapid shutdown, the inverter has built-in power line communication for rapid shutdown devices. There's no need to purchase a separate transmitter device. And for PV RSS, we are certified with AP Smarts. This is the RSD single and the RSD dual. And as most of you are aware, rapid shutdown is a requirement for most everywhere in the United States, and it's for safety for fire personnel. And speaking of that rapid shutdown initiator, we have partnered with IMO for that. This will allow rapid shutdown in case of a grid outage, utilizing either the PV point or the essential load backup. So you can wire these in and daisy chain up to 27 inverters to one switch. So you should be able to just walk up to it, flip the switch, it initiates rapid shutdown, and this will get you to passcode compliance.
Matt, before we go on, there are a couple of questions.
Sure.
One question, can the GFCI power a small backup battery like EcoFlow or Go Zero?
It depends on the current draw. So I would have to do some research on that.
Okay. And then there was another question a little while back on the Up.storage. Not sure whether you mentioned that. And is there some update, air update available for the Up.storage? And if so, what are the unique features about that?
So the Up.storage, really the key feature on that is the upgradability of the inverter. So if an installer goes and installs a Gen24 standard grid tie, and later on down the road, your customer wants to upgrade with battery storage, they can purchase the upgrade through our web shop and then just add the batteries from there. They do not have to purchase a whole new inverter to do so. And if it's connected to our SolarWeb monitoring portal, it automatically downloads that firmware into the inverter. So at that point, when the installer goes to install the batteries, they just go into the inverter's user interface to turn on the battery backup functionality. If they don't have it connected to our SolarWeb monitoring portal, what it will do is it'll give a file to download, and they would connect their laptop to the inverter, and it's a simple drag and drop to update the inverter at that point.
Awesome. Thank you. Everyone who is participating, please keep going and put your questions into the Q&A or any comments. Thank you so much.
All right. So we'll go ahead and talk about our smart meter wide range. So what this is our bidirectional energy meter that reads power that's being fed back to the grid, as well as consumption from the home. So it offers a wide array of different grid types, up to 600 volt AC. And you don't have to worry about purchasing the wrong meter because it'll do anything from 208 to 600. It communicates via Modbus RTU with the RS485 connection, either on the data manager for our older models or the pilot board for the Gen24. It is a revenue grade solution with 0.5% accuracy. One thing to note is the CTs are not included. We do recommend utilizing the Continental Controls CTs. They are the manufacturers of our smart meters, so they're the most compatible. So I got a question for you guys. What percentage of your residential customers inquire about battery storage? I'm curious to see what your guys' answer is.
All right. And your options are 0 to 25%. If we could launch the poll, there it is. 0 to 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75%, and 75 to 100%. Let's get some answers in. So what percentage of your residential customers inquire about battery storage? So we have an even distribution. So 50% so far say that 0 to 25% of customers ask for battery storage, and 50 to 75%. We have 60% now. It's going up a little bit. So we can see a little bit more interest on the battery storage. Can we get some more answers? Looks like it's not moving. Please feel free to continue to share in the Q&A. I'm going to end this poll and let you comment on that, Matt.
All right. And let's go ahead and move forward. So we'll talk about the installation and commissioning of the Gen24. So these are the things that you'll need to have a proper installation of the Gen24. You will need to have a T20 Torx screwdriver. You'll need to have a drill with a step bit. This is for installing the mounting bracket as well as drilling holes into the conduit. Your wire strippers, multimeter, most of these are, pretty standard. One thing to note is you will need either a smartphone or a tablet with the Solar.start app. That's our commissioning app. If you are going to connect it to a SolarWeb account, then you'll want to go ahead and sign in to the SolarStart app. This will, once you're finished, it will actually take you straight into SolarWeb to add it to a system. Some things that, that most installers should be doing is recording voltage measurements, record the grid code that's being utilized, the serial number and V code for later use that can be found on the sticker that's on the right-hand side. So these are the requirements for installation. If you're going to install it, you need to either have it at a 90-degree or 10-degree tilt. So the reason why you can't lay it flat is because of the fan that's in the center. The 10-degree tilt will allow water to shed off the fan, so that way it doesn't just get flooded. Install it under 13,000 feet. Make sure it's a level installation. You don't want it cattywampus. Ensure that it's not installed in direct sunlight, and then you don't want it in a living space, a greenhouse. You don't want it in animal barns. This should be common sense, but I've actually seen in tech support where somebody installed their inverter in a closet in the bathroom. And then wondered why it was getting hot. It had no airflow. So yeah, these are the things that you definitely want to do when installing.
Quick question here. So when you install a Fronius Gen24, there's no torque, correct?
That is correct. Between just getting into the inverter, there's 180-degree locking screws. And then the terminal blocks themselves are actually removable Wago terminals. So there, you just remove them, open up the spring clamp, make sure that the wire stripped properly. And then once you land it, close the spring clamp and click it back in. And so it makes it really simple and easy to install. Much better than our previous generations.
Thank you.
So quick commissioning is going to be done with our Solar.start app. It just helps you get in there, get it commissioned, and get on your way. So you can set up a Fronius inverter in just a few minutes. We've actually had our sales staff install and commission inverters in our lab. And trust me, if they can do it, anybody can. So you can download these on the Play Store or the App Store for Apple. So once you open up the app, you're going to want to log into a SolarWeb account. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to click on Start Installation. And then once you do, you're going to select the Gen24. And once you do, it's going to ask you to activate the access point for the inverter. Then you just tap the center button on the front, and then it's going to start looking for it. So you can actually do it the old-fashioned way by doing a manual connection, by selecting the Wi-Fi settings. So you go in, you find the serial number of the inverter, you put in the password, but that's really the hard way. What you can do is scan that QR code that's at the bottom towards the back. That'll actually get you in right away. You don't have to worry about a password. You click on that scan QR code, scan it, and it gets you in. So once you're in, you have 3 steps to commission it. You want to select the network tab. So this is going to have you put in a system name, be whatever you'd like. You just need to make sure that the time zone is set correctly, because then it will actually pull that information from the router. Next up, you have some things you got to agree to, but once you do, then it's going to ask you to select which way you're going to connect to it. If you do Wi-Fi, which is primarily what most people do, you can actually go in and activate the WPS function on this screen. And you can also press the WPS button that's on the router. What it does is it'll actually seamlessly connect it without having to worry about a network name or a password. And so it's very convenient to do so. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the product tab. This is where you're going to set up your grid code. It's going to ask you if everything's correct with the time zone and things like that. So you would be able to select what type of system it is, whether it be a delta without a neutral or split phase. It'll actually sense what voltage is going in, so you don't have to adjust anything here. You just need to select with or without a neutral. Next, then your grid code. So we have multiple grid codes with more coming available as utilities require different settings. Out of the box, we have the California Rule 21 setting. We have the Hawaii Rule 14. We have the standard 2003. We also have one for a standard 2018 1547, ISO New England, and New Mexico. So there are plenty of different options to select from. And then from there, you will actually input all of the things that are connected to the inverter. So the size of the array that the inverter is going to get fed. Next, this is where you would set up a smart meter if you had it. Also, you can set up a battery if it's already connected. And then you can adjust settings for the digital I/O ports. You can select which type of backup power that you want to do, whether it be the PV point and the full backup. You have to have one or the other. You can't have both at the same time. And then this is where you would select what pins do what for specific loads. You can also set up an export limitation at this point. So you can effectively limit it to a certain wattage output, or you can actually do a 0 feed-in with these settings. The last portion is actually getting it on our SolarWeb monitoring portal. Of course, the network tab does need to be completed first. And what you'll do is you'll actually disconnect from the inverter and connect to the same network that the inverter is connected to. Once you click on the SolarWeb tab, then you're connected to the internet. You'll actually be able to create a new system. If this is a new installation, you can add a product to an existing system. If there's another inverter of ours that is connected, you can actually exchange out this particular inverter with the Gen24, and it'll do all of that for you. And then once you're done with that, you'll actually be in the user interface of the inverter, so you can see state codes, what the inverter is doing for energy output, things of that nature. Got another question for you guys. What features of the Gen24 appeal to you the most?
Well, is it the active cooling technology? Is it the ease of installation? 180 degrees locking screws, spring clamp terminals, etc.? Or is it a commissioning process? You have to choose one. So far, it looks
it's pretty strong on the ease of installation.
Yes, so far 100% ease of installation. Did we get some more responses? Yeah, I think it's very clear. Surprising to you? Does that reflect your conversations with customers?
Most definitely. And I do see somebody that does like the commissioning process, but just the generational, leap from having to have torque specs to literally no torque specs required. I know for me, because I've actually installed and done things, that is so much easier. You don't have to worry about it.
Fantastic. All right, let's keep going.
So here's what you would do if you're going to add a battery. You can do it as you're commissioning the inverter, or you can also set it up in a way that if you're adding it after the fact. So you would go in, you would add the battery. So this is one of them. Now you can set it up for different state of charge settings. More often than not, you're going to leave that as auto and let the inverter tell the batteries what to do. You can set up more time of use things later. One thing to note, and I did say this earlier, I do believe, is you will need a smart meter in the system before you add the battery, because the inverter needs to know what's being consumed for the system. So there are a few different things that you can do for battery management. You can set up different state of charge settings. You can do time-dependent battery control settings. You can, for those time of use things, especially in California where rates can swing dramatically. So what you would do is you would get in, you would sign in with the technician password that you create, and then you go under energy management. And from there, you click on battery management, and this is where you can actually set things up, either auto for state of charge things, and also time-dependent battery control. So this is where you would set up your time of use rules, where it'll draw from the battery at specific times that you set up. It does offer 3 right out of the gate, but you can add more. And you can set up different wattages to draw from the battery and things of that nature, depending on what kind of consumption that you're doing. So this, offers you a lot of flexibility to make sure that you don't have to pull that energy from the utility. And here's some more of those things that you can change. So you can do also load management things with the battery. There's 4 different rules you can set up for power reduction or power surplus. And these are done through those IO ports. I know that in years past, we've had this before and it was pretty underutilized. But these are things, especially if you have, some loads that you want to make sure doesn't turn on unless the inverter is producing either a percentage, a set percentage or, wattage, like a pull pump and things of that nature. So you can set these rules, dependent on what loads you want to control. And you can also do self consumption optimization. So you would select that, and then you can do it manually or set it up automatically. Once it's set, then you can give it a target feed-in value, things of that nature to optimize your own consumption of the energy that you have. Again, to try and make sure that you're utilizing your energy consumption as seamless as possible. So now we'll go into our digital tools. So the first and foremost is our SolarWeb monitoring portal. It gives you pretty much everything that you need at a glance. So you can see your display of consumption and production on a daily, monthly, and annual basis. It will give you error reports if they're there, as well as you can do your own production reports, consumption reports, things of that nature. So you can analyze and see where you can optimize your consumption. So it gives you a lot of different analysis options of the PV system, such as your grid voltages, your array voltages, currents. There's so many different things that you can actually see with these utilizing the SolarWeb. And it's also easy fleet management. So you can you get all of your information of Fronius inverters in one spot. And you can also update all of the system components through SolarWeb. And this is also where you would register the inverters. And one thing to note is if they come with a standard 10-year warranty, but it also will allow you, once you register, to get an additional 2 years for free. So that's a pretty big incentive to register those inverters. One good resource for installers is our Solar SOS platform. So what this does is it gives you a troubleshooting steps in the palm of your hand. You can do it at any time, 24/7. If you're one of our installers that have an account with us, you can go ahead and do cases. Things of that nature. If you're one of our solution partners, you can actually do a whole service case in one truck roll. So you create a case, you order the parts you need. If you have the parts on your truck, you can go ahead and swap it out on site, one truck roll, and then you would get the part shipped back to you to replenish your stock. There is an offline mode to troubleshoot remote sites as well. So this is a great tool to have. And here is...
Sorry, Matt. Can you stay there for a second and elaborate a little bit more on the troubleshooting? How does it work? It sounds like a great advantage. How does it work? Are there error codes?
Correct. So ideally, what we would have an installer do is, the inverter would be online, and SolarWeb will let them know that there's an error code that's happening, and then they would pull up their SOS app to see what needs to be done while they're on site, and then from there they would go to the site. They would troubleshoot the issue based off of the troubleshooting steps for that particular error code. And then if they are one of our solution providers, they can actually just go ahead and swap out the part if they have it available, and then they would do a service order through the app, and they would get that part shipped to them, and then it takes care of the issue on site with one truck roll. So you don't have to charge the end customer, at least 2 truck rolls. So it is a very, very good thing to have in your back pocket.
Thank you for that extra explanation there.
For sure. All right. So,
there is another question. Sorry to interrupt you again.
No, that's fine.
As we are talking about solution provider, there's a question: how do you become a solution provider again?
That's a very good question. You would actually reach out to the email here and request that, and then also we have field sales reps that can assist with that. And yeah, you can actually do all that. I know on our website, we do have an application process. I just don't know what it is because that's outside my realm. But you can definitely send an email to this email address, the pv-sales-usa, and inquire about it. And one of our inside sales staff or our field sales representatives will reach back out and let them know the process. And one cool thing is if you do become one of our partners, we do in-house training that I also provide training for. All right. Another cool tool is our Solar Creator. So this is a free and easy to use PV design and configuration tool. So this can do an entire site design. You can do a simple string calculation with the quick PV design tool. And if you go through the entire process of doing a full site design, it'll take information from ASHRAE for irradiance values and temperatures. It'll also allow you to do a Google map of the system where you can actually draw out your array. And once you're all finished and you put in, how much the system would cost, it'll actually give you an amortization calculation at the end that'll give the customer an idea of how long it'll take to get a return on the investment that they make. It'll also even give you a simple single line diagram for the installation. It's a pretty cool tool. So this is what we like to call the tool belt of success for our installers. So what we do is we inform you with our SolarWeb monitoring portal. We support you with our Solar SOS app, as well as our tech support staff. And we empower you by becoming a partner of ours to do everything at once instead of having to make multiple truck rolls. And this is our support to you. You can get technical support via phone and email. We have our tech support staff here at our national office in Portage, Indiana. It's actually where it came from. So it's somebody that's local and very well trained to answer all of the questions that you have. We have our Solar SOS and SolarWeb apps to monitor as well as troubleshoot any issues that you may have. We have our design tool, Solar Creator, and we offer sales training. And that would be done either by myself or our other technical sales advisor, Paul Bowie. And again, we offer in-person and online training. As well as these webinars to give you the support that you need. And here's how you would be able to get in touch with us. For technical support, you would call the number listed. If you want to email in, it's pv-support-usa@fronius.com. If you want to get a hold of our sales staff, it's pv-sales-usa@fronius.com. And that concludes it.
Fantastic, Matt. Thank you so much for sharing all this information. And of course, as we are strong partners, you can also reach out to us and we'll help you with any kind of support you need, getting you in touch with Fronius. Thank you for sharing all this information. This is the time for you to ask some more questions or share comments in the Q&A section. So please go right ahead and post your questions there. In the meantime, maybe I'd like to just, ask you for some examples. So this was a lot of wonderful information, great advantages, ease of installation, pops right out. If you think of some use applications, where does Gen24 particularly shine? Can you think of any example where an installer solved a specific problem in end consumer installation that stuck out to you that you can share with us?
Or you can even say something negative. You won't hurt my feelings much.
No, I would actually. So while we get our attendees to ask their questions, is there anything from your side that you know of, feedback that you heard where a problem was solved, that occurred, or where Gen24 is shining really?
So one thing to note is the Gen24 was launched this year in the US back in July. But it has been available rest of the world for a few years now. So a lot of the issues that have, come up with new products, such as, bugs and hardware issues, most of those have been pretty much cleared out. And most of the failures were just software upgrades that just need to be, updated. As far as hard parts failures, from my knowledge, from our repair center at our international headquarters, it's less than 1%, which is really telling for, most power electronics, they average about a 2% failure rate. But the fact that they were able to, get a less than 1% is huge.
That's awesome. There's also a somewhat related question from the audience. So if you could elaborate again on the major differences between the last generation inverters and the Gen24 when installing, with a particular focus on replacement purpose.
Okay. So if we're talking about replacing a power class with a like power class, the biggest differences is the no torque requirements. The previous generation did require torque specs of everything, from the terminal block to mounting the inverter to the mounting bracket to closing it up with the DATCOM cover. That's a lot of time that gets consumed, which also gets passed down to the customer with labor cost. So the fact that you can actually install the inverter without having to worry about breaking out a torque driver is the biggest upside to the previous generations. Also, another thing to note is the actual weight of the inverter. The small power class weighs about 37 pounds, where the previous generation weighed about 45 pounds. For the smaller classes, the larger power classes weigh 45 pounds, where the previous generation for that 10 kilowatt inverter, it weighed 80 pounds. So just not having to worry about throwing your back out by picking it up, because it really was a team lift thing with the last the generation where it's not so much anymore. Those are the key features that, make it a whole lot easier to install in comparison to our previous generation.
Okay, awesome. Are there any more questions from our attendees? Then now is the time to put them in the chat. No, in the Q&A, not in the chat. I think this was like a great presentation. I really appreciate your time, taking the time for our installers to share the differences, the benefits of using Gen24. And I'm sure there are more questions. Yeah, the webinar, the recording will be available to you. We're going to send it out after we have edited everything. Also, you can reach out. Matt shared contact details, and you can also, of course, reach out to us. We'll put you in touch. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your partnership, Matt. Please register with us. Go and happy selling and take advantage of our web store. The link is in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time, for being here, and see you very soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.